Hey everybody, Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and today I'm chatting with Seb about his 2013 JK. So Seb, thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm excited to talk about your Jeep.
Absolutely welcome, Jake. Glad to be here.
So I want to go over your setup for everybody who's watching. Again, Seb is driving a 2013 JK. For wheels, he's got the Mammoth 8 aluminums in matte black. These are 17x9s with a negative 6mm offset, making for an aggressive stance. For tires, he's running the BF Goodrich all-terrain TAKO2s. These are 315/70 R17s, equating to about a 35 by 12.5 inch tire. And then for suspension, he's running the Mammoth 2-inch front and 1-inch rear leveling kit with the end links included. To start us off here, why did you choose this setup? Was there some kind of inspiration behind the things that you did?
I guess there was. I mean, I always liked, I had the Jeep for quite a while, just in its stock form. And had it for probably 3 or 4 years, and I always promised myself that you know, when the time was right, you know, have a birthday or whatever, my 50th birthday or whatever, I'd reward myself with upgrading things a little bit. It came time for the upgrade for the wheels and the changing the stands, keep it clean, kind of understated, but just a bit more aggressive than that stock look.
So again, these are the Mammoth 8s in aluminum, and they are finished in the matte black, so they're 17x9s with that negative 6mm offset, so you've got a pretty aggressive stance. You've got a little bit of poke coming out from the fenders. What drew you to this wheel in particular?
I think it was probably a combination of looks and price. It was a very reasonably priced wheel. Just looked right, you know, on the Jeep. I wanted something that was pretty straightforward, and this one it's just an absolutely straightforward wheel, but just with the lightning holes drilled around it.
What made you go with one versus the other?
I did a little bit of research, and we don't use the vehicle for any kind of serious off-roading. The Steelies sound like they're a good bet if you're driving, going to be doing some crazy off-road stuff, and there's a good chance you're going to ding a rim at some point because you're going to, you know, de-air the tires to, you know, 5 psi or whatever, and you're going to hit a rock. And given the fact that I was going to quite a bigger size vehicle, I felt it'd be a good idea just to keep weight down as much as possible.
So what made you go with this with an offset?
I wanted something which was a little bit more aggressive than the stock look. But at the same time, I wasn't in the market for something which, you know, so jacked up and so big that you're going to start stressing, you know, requiring, you know, major surgery on the undercarriage kind of thing.
Again, you're running the BF Goodrich all-terrain TAKO2, so they're 315/70/17, so they're about a 35 by 12.5 inch tire. Was that like the thing, I want to put 35s on it, or was it? It
was basically how big can I get without having serious engineering problems and requiring a big lift. And I did the research, and I was looking at first. I thought maybe it'd be safer to go with something that's like 33, but then I actually spoke with a gentleman at Extreme Terrain who was incredibly helpful, and we were talking for a little while. Nervous that I'm going to get rubbing at full lock, but talking with this gentleman, I said, you can definitely get away with 35. It was basically, it's the biggest that I could go comfortably.
How has it changed the way the Jeep is driven?
When I first drove with them, and honestly, it felt remarkably like the stock. Other than the fact that the stance had changed, the steering was a little heavier, but not much. But then when I lowered them down to just 30 psi, you know, the ride became really nice, much smoother, really nice. And I think the thing that I really love about these, which I was totally surprised by, I was expecting it to be quite a lot louder. It's not at all. Not at all. It is no more noisy than the stock tires. So even with the top down or whatever, the road noise is not excessive.
Since you upsized the wheels and tires, have you noticed any error with the speedometer or odometer?
Yeah, you know, the circumference of the wheel's different. It's going to be an error of whatever, 10-15% or something like that. I was able to get my regular Jeep dealership who services the vehicle to recalibrate the speedometer pretty soon thereafter. You know, I did the upgrade, so that was fine.
Have you noticed the Jeep feeling any more sluggish since you put these larger wheels and tires on?
I don't think it's really that noticeable.
So again, you've got the Mammoth 2-inch front, 1-inch rear leveling kit with the end links included.
I intentionally wanted to get more of a lift at the front and the back because I wanted to get that leveling. So I wanted to get the nose up a little bit. And I think that it looks so much nicer with a kind of the level pose and the slightly nose down that you get stock. I think it handles better, especially when you're braking, you don't feel like you're nose diving quite so much. That could just be my imagination. I haven't done anything to test that. The links and everything were chosen to reduce the strain on the anti-roll bar on the front. just to extend that link. And again, the spacers in the back just to provide that lift. And again, it was kind of like the choice with the wheels. It was basically the max that I could get without thinking about swapping out springs and shocks and everything else and incurring extra expense. So, it was basically, what can I do without changing everything? Let's not completely reinvent the wheel here, kind of thing.
So you don't really have any issues with like rubbing or contact of the tires or anything like that?
I put it at full lock. I look on the inside to see if there are any rubbing marks. There's nothing.
Knowing what you know now, having lived with this for several years, is there anything you would do differently if you went and did it all over again?
No, not a thing.
Do you have any plans to change the setup in the future? Anything else that you're thinking of adding to it?
Nothing external. I think I'm thinking of ripping out the stereo at some point.
Seb, thank you so much for being here with me today, chatting about the Jeep. I'm glad that you're so happy with your setup, and I look forward to see what you do with it in the future.
Absolutely. Welcome, Jake. Glad to be here.
So to run over your setup one more time for everybody who's watching at home, Seb is driving a 2013 JK. For wheels, he's got the Mammoth 8 aluminums in matte black. These are 17x9s with a negative 6mm offset, making for an aggressive stance. For tires, he's got the BF Goodrich All-Terrain TAK02s. These are 315/70/17s, equating to about a 35x12.5-inch tire. And then for suspension, he's got the Mammoth 2-inch front, 1-inch rear leveling kit with end links. So Seb, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for watching. And remember, for all things Wrangler, be sure to keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.